In today's video, I'm headed to Goodwill and I found so many good things. So we're gonna take some of these items that I found today and we're gonna flip them in today's video. For project one, I was walking down the glass aisle and I caught a glimpse of these and I just knew I had to have them. They were only $1.99, so not a lot. And I figured I was going to initially sell as is, but then I saw Lost Garden and I thought, wouldn't this be so cool to add a little bit of transfer to each one? So I dug into Lost Garden and I found two chunks that I thought was absolutely perfect for each of the bottles. And we're gonna add a little transfer to each one and I'm gonna show you how to do this. The first thing I did was I lined up exactly where I wanted the transfer, and I wanted it to start on the front and kind of go to each of the sides and wrap around. And it's so easy, you guys. I just take the transfer stick and I start rubbing and I make sure that I get it wrapped around before I start pulling it off. And again, just continue to rub that transfer. Now you may be asking, are these water safe? Can I wash them? Can I put them in the dishwasher? No, you cannot. What you can do to give them a little bit added protection, I did not do this, but you can add a bit of Big Top or a top coat to it to seal these on. And I am going to keep these for myself, I decided in the end. So I am not going to add the Big Top, but you definitely want to, if you're reselling, to give it a little bit added protection, and then put on your tag that they cannot be washed, only hand washed. For project two, I found this wood crate, you guys, and it caught my eye right away. I love little boxes like this. I love the dovetailing on the side. The top I was loving as well, but I knew that I wanted to do something to really elevate this piece. And so for starters, I am painting the top with coal black from Fusion. It is a one-step paint, so there was no need to seal. And I did apply 2 even coats. And some of you may be going, no, my gosh, why did you paint it? Well, I wanted to give this piece just a completely different look and feel. And by doing this, I'm going to tie it all together with what I do to the base. I wanted to add a bit of distressing to it, bring out some of that wood grain. So I took a piece of sandpaper and I just sanded the edges and just really made it look like old and vintage, make that vintage wood come through. Now I initially did not show you guys this on the side. I don't believe that it is original from the little box itself. It very well could be, but again, I had a different vision for this. So what I am doing is taking that coal black and I am painting the inside of this really cute decorative piece on the side. I'm leaving the very edge where it shows green, I'm leaving that just as is as well. So I am going to apply 2 even coats to the center, let that dry very well, and then we're going to finish this project off. I'm grabbing Lost Garden again, and this is from the new IOD release, and I'm just going to take a chunk of this and I'm going to add it to the side. So this vision completely changed. Initially, I wanted to try to just put it inside of that, very curvish box or like decorative piece, and then I'm like, there's no way that I'm gonna be able to cut it out exactly. Well, this was a happy accident because the crate itself was actually like sealed with something that the transfer would not stick to. But all the painted areas, it did. So initially I sat there and I rubbed and rubbed. I tried to get that transfer onto that wood, but whatever was on there, if it was like an oil it was sealed with or what, it would not come off. So this was definitely a happy accident, and what happened was the transfer only stuck in the areas that were painted, and it was perfect. It was actually my initial vision came true. So I love how this turned out, and in the end, I hope that you guys love it as much as I do. You guys, I just love how this turned out. Wait till you see what it looks like with the top on. The last thing that you need to do is seal it with a top coat. I'm using Big Top from DIY. All the supplies used in today's video you can find on my website at www.sonnetsgardenblooms.com. For project 3, I found this sign, and honestly, I knew I wanted to upcycle it. I really had no idea what I wanted to initially do because I really kind of liked all that chippy goodness that was going on, but I did not like the saying. So initially I started sanding and I tried to get the saying off, and it brought through a lot of white. So what I decided to do was embrace that, and I broke out White Swan from DIY and I applied 2 even coats of White Swan to the entire piece. And then we're gonna use a technique that I love to do. We are gonna do a little bit of wet distressing. If you haven't wet distressed before, it's super easy with DIY paint. All you need to do is take an old rig, get it damp but not excessively wet, and then just over all the raised areas, just rub. You may need to wash out the damp rig or the wet rig in between because what it's doing is it's wiping away some of the DIY paint. So your rig will get full of it. I would just rinse it out really good, come back and continue to wipe. And what I did is I wanted some of that color that it initially was to come through, some of those areas that had that distressing to show through as well, and then just randomly over the front. And then I knew that I was going to add a saying to the front and add some fun transfers. I'm using the set called Typesetting, and this has been always one of my favorite go-to stamp sets from IOD. The reason I love it so much is that it does come with all the capital, the lowercase, and numbers. So you get all of it, and the font is so perfect for creating signs like this. So I am laying it out, and I am going to stamp out the Saint, I guess spring. And it's right around the corner, you guys. And I line everything up. I measure it to make sure the letters are exactly the same from each side. I used to try to eyeball it a lot more, and I feel like I always had it wrong. And this time it was perfect. I pick it up with a piece of thin mount, and these come in really big chunks, and I like to cut the thin mounts up so you get different sizes to use for different projects. I'm using permanent ink from IOD, and I am going to ink up my stamp set. And one thing I did is I tried to, I put a transfer stick right where I want to lay the wording down after I ink it up. And then I also lined it up so I knew that the top was with the very top of the sign. So right where I picked it up, it would be laid right back down. The other key ticket here is when you lay it down, hold it in place, and then take your fingers and rub over each letter to get a really nice impression of your stamp set. I also want to add that anytime you use DIY paint, you do need to seal it. What I have found is if you are stamping onto that DIY paint, I would recommend doing it before you seal it. I feel like you have better control over your stamps when the piece that you're stamping on is a bit slick. It can cause the stamps to move a little bit. And so by doing it before, it sticks right down. The other thing, which I'm going to show you now, is that you do want to make sure your piece is completely dry before you start applying the transfers. Now, I was heading to Nashville and I needed to get this done as quick as possible, and I was running out of time, so I tried to apply these much quicker, faster, sooner, and it was a complete fail. It was not completely dry all the way through, and what happens is your transfer will peel up some of the wet paint, and that's exactly what happened. But I was able to fix it. I also discovered from Connie, from the Painted Photographer, she has a solution. What you can do as well is put liquid patina underneath, lay it back down, and then really get it to soak in, and then it will come off. I haven't tried this yet, but I am going to do it in the future. So once the error occurred and I realized there was no going back, I made sure it was completely dry, and then I started adding pieces of transfer. So that is the best thing about IOD and their transfers, is that you don't necessarily have to place them down as is on the sheet of paper, your sheet. You can cut these apart, you can layer them, you can create something unique to you, and that is exactly what I did here. It started off as a complete mess, and I thought I had ruined this project, but in the end, I was able to fix it. So just take my advice, make sure your project is completely dry before you apply the transfer. The last thing that you need to do is seal the entire piece. And even though this started off as a complete fail, I think it turned out completely amazing, and it is going to look great in my booth at my May event. Now, I want to thank you all for taking the time to watch the video today. If you haven't yet, go ahead, hit that subscribe button, turn on your bell notification. That way, every Monday when I upload a video, you'll be notified, and I cannot wait to see you guys in the next video. I'm in Nashville currently, and I am gonna have a great video for you next Monday, guys.